Coming up today, we break down the eating strategies to help manage your blood sugar, what to eat, what to avoid to help reduce your risk of diabetes complications. Good morning. It is Monday, November 14th. I'm Jessica Lovell. Welcome to the Morning Medical Update. We are live inside the Dolph C. Simons Jr. Family Broadcast Studio. In 2019, more than 37 million Americans were living with diabetes. That is a staggering 11% of the entire population. Food and diet, of course, play a huge role in taking care of your body, especially if you have diabetes. We're going to share 3 simple recipes and tips to make it through the holidays without completely feeling deprived. So make sure you get your questions sent in to us through the links here on your screen, or you can drop them in the chat thread below. We'll get to those in just a bit. Diabetes is a disease that affects how your body uses glucose, your brain's main source of energy. When you eat, your blood sugar goes up. Your pancreas releases insulin to make sure the glucose is delivered to the cells that need that energy. Though for people with diabetes, their blood sugars don't drop like they should. That could be because of 3 reasons. Either the pancreas doesn't produce enough insulin, the insulin doesn't work well enough, or your body doesn't respond correctly. Of course, there are several types of diabetes. Type 1, the body completely stops making insulin. Patients need, of course, daily insulin injections or an insulin pump to survive. It usually forms in children or young adults, but it certainly can happen at any age. Type 2 is the most common form of diabetes. It's when your body doesn't respond to insulin the way that it should. It is more likely to happen in people over the age of 40 who might be overweight or have a family history of diabetes. While some people can control their blood glucose levels with healthy eating and exercise, others may need medication or that insulin. A big part of controlling diabetes is all about food and what we put inside our bodies. So I want to welcome Pattie Lueyot. She is a diabetes educator and the program coordinator for the Cray Diabetes Self-Management Center, along with one of your patients, Susan Warren. She takes part in several of our services, all in an effort to keep her health and her diabetes in check. Today also happens to be World Diabetes Day, so we are glad both of you ladies are here with us to help educate us and get us on the right track. So Pattie, I want to start with you because a recent study shows that more and more young people are developing type 2 diabetes. The American Diabetes Association found that in 2019, 96 million Americans age 18 and older had pre-diabetes. So I want to talk exactly what that is and how you would know that you were lined up to have pre-diabetes and possibly develop it.
Pre-diabetes is the condition in which your blood sugars are at abnormal level. Either you have fasting blood sugar before you start eating the first meal of the day, between 100 to 125 milligram per deciliter, or you have a hemoglobin A1C test of 5.7% to 6.4%. So at this level, it's not a diabetes yet, right? So, but it's a progressive condition. So over time, some people developed type 2 diabetes. Recent year, we are seeing more people, younger people with, and unfortunately, children living with pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes. And unfortunately, 80% of them don't know that they have diabetes. Most people can live with high blood sugar or pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes up to 10 years before they find out that they have diabetes.
So how do you test for it?
So typically, I would recommend people, go ask the doctor, at the annual physical exam to do A1C test, especially if you are now the American Diabetes Association recommend that you check the provider to check the A1C test starting at age 35.
So why do we think we're seeing that younger population developing type 2 diabetes? Is it diet? Is it our society? Is it? I thought we were getting healthier. I thought we were doing away with that fast food lifestyle and kind of getting into more of this, vegan and raw and getting a little healthier. Are we not there yet?
So there are many factors that put people at risk of diabetes. You know, the genetic components raise. That you can't control, but you're right about that. There's many lifestyle factors that you can manage. The lifestyle factor that put people at risk of prediabetes or type 2 diabetes is consuming ultra processed food, which typically higher in added sugar, higher in empty calorie. And these will lead to excessive weight gain, right? Another lifestyle factor is being inactive. Nowadays, you spend more time, in front of computer, on the screen, in front of your phone, and being out, children being out played less. These two main factors of being overweight and being inactive, can lead to your body ability to respond to insulin. Because, or AKA what we call insulin resistant, the condition in which that your body responds to insulin action less in helping lower the blood sugar. And if this happening over time, this can lead to pre-diabetes and eventually type 2 diabetes.
So management is key. I want to bring in Susan because, Susan, you transferred to the Cray Diabetes Self-Management Center after meeting Pattie. What did your doctors change about your treatment plans? Tell us a little bit about that and a little history about your diabetes diagnosis.
I've been diabetic for about 20 years and been on a number of different medications, but the impetus, of course, was Miss Pattie to get me to Cray, which has changed my life because they put me on insulin. And for me, I am now sleeping through the night because my blood sugars are remaining normal, which is excellent. And I've been on insulin plus Trulicity and metformin, that combination since the beginning of October. And I have more energy. It's just been life-altering and life-changing for me. So, and following Miss Pattie through the years, she's gotten me to Cray. I visit the support group. I do with the her meetings with all of the food, which is great. And I do a lot of the programs through Zoom and in person at KU's Turning Point.
Fantastic. Glad that you're utilizing all of those programs and services available to you. What was it like, though, Susan, when you were initially diagnosed with this 20 years ago? Was there a time when it was hard to manage? And you're at a place where you feel good, solid now, but back in the day, what was that like for you, trying to find and navigate this diagnosis?
I always felt that sleep apnea played quite a major role in my diagnosis and becoming diabetic. A little bit of family history, and then, of course, I was overweight. Don't have to admit that, but I was. And I think it's been quite an interesting journey through the medications of people not knowing exactly how the medications interact and what medications to put a diabetic on. So that was, I managed to normalize quite a bit of it. But when I got to Cray and got to an endocrinologist, that was major turning point for me.
I want to put some information up on the screen about the Cray Diabetes Self-Management Center. We have a QR code there. And then I want Miss Pattie, as Susan calls you, to tell us a little bit about Cray. What kind of services do you offer? What is that process like? And do you have to be a patient of the health system to be able to be a member there at the Cray Center?
So the Cray Diabetes Self-Management Center support the University of Kansas Health System, Endocrinology Department, and Internal Medicine Department. The Diabetes Center is funded on Bud and Sally Cray's belief that the diabetes treatment should not be hurried. and should be based on the mutual conversation, listening, and problem solving between the provider, the doctor, and the patient. And these beliefs continue to be the driving model for our center. Our patients have an opportunity to meet with a diabetes educator, attending support group like Susan does, and in addition to their regular provider, doctor, and advanced practitioner visits. And that's because diabetes management is not just happening during the doctor visit every 3 or 6 months, but the patient has to go home and manage it, every day in their life, which is very important.
So you're teaching them those tools,
yes,
so that they can go home and be successful.
Yes. So we providing them the tool to be able to do that at home, right? So our diabetes education program is accredited by American Diabetes Association, and to provide the comprehensive diabetes education via group classes or one-on-one visit with the educator. We provide both visit via in-person visit and also telehealth. And to answer your question that do you have to be our patient to utilize our service? No, especially if you would like to join our 13 free different online classes that we offer all year round, like Susan did, right? The diabetes support group, the monthly cooking demo, Cooking with Cray. We provide all these services to help providing the how you would do it at home, right? So your provider, your doctor give you what should you do, give you that plan. Our educator, our registered dietitian will help you how you would do this at home with yourself and with your friends and your family.
Well, and that's how we do it now. We don't just look at a recipe or someone tells us to eat healthy. I love picking up my phone and being able to watch somebody throw a recipe together. It makes me feel like I actually stand a chance at making it come out pretty decent, right? So you do this monthly cooking show called Cooking with Cray, as you mentioned. It's a luncheon. Susan, we're going to get to our 3 recipes, some good swaps as we get closer to the holidays. But Susan, how helpful have those videos and getting them online and following these recipes, how great has that been for you?
Well, it's wonderful because it's all of us that are on always have ideas. And so Miss Pattie guides us through the food, and then we're able to give our input and get many, many different ideas. It's really an idea exchange with Miss Pattie as our leader. The unfortunate thing is we never do get to eat the food. So I think that needs to change, and I believe we're looking into maybe doing a place that we can all get together and do that. That would be fun.
That would be fun.
Wouldn't that be fun?
It would. I guess you're right. To taste it, you got to make it, Susan. That's the tough part. It's easy to watch. It's hard to make, but we're going to try to help everybody out here a little bit. So here's how this is going to go. We're going to walk through 3 different swaps, things that can kind of help us get through the holidays, not feel totally deprived, add a couple of healthy things here and there. We're going to put a Bitly link up so that you could go to those recipes online. And then as Miss Pattie walks us through these, she's going to kind of tell us why these recipes and why they can be helpful. I find them to be all year round. I think they're perfect for that. So I want to start with something that I make this for my daughter every single week. We make roasted cauliflower. I love roasted cauliflower. We actually put blue cheese and hot sauce on it to make like buffalo. But I think any old way you make it can be great. So tell us why. We're going to, again, you can see it being made. You can see all the ingredients and go to that website. But tell us why roasted cauliflower cannot make us feel like we're missing out too much.
So actually, I'm one of people that don't really, like to eat cauliflower. Mm-hmm. This is one of the ways that, I would like to eat it. And also my kid enjoy eating it because it doesn't feel like you eat a vegetable, right? It's when you roast it and put a lot of seasoning, you can follow our recipe right here, or you can put any seasoning that you will like, right? So with a little bit of oil, when you roast it, it actually a very meaty side dishes. These can be a very good addition to a Thanksgiving side dishes, if, addition to your Brussels sprout or green beans.
Yeah, it's something different. We kind of
yes.
see the same old stuff. I like to mix it up each and every year, but I love that recipe. Again, it makes it feel special, different. I've seen it on I've seen it on menus at restaurants now. A roasted cauliflower for an entree, especially if you're vegetarian. So I really love that. And like you said, again, I think what I like about these recipes is it allows you to control the salts, the sugars, and each thing that you're putting on it, especially when it comes to salad dressing, because we know we eat a healthy salad, put up all those great veggies, and then you dump this huge fattening amount of the good stuff, which is the dressing. But here is a way that we can kind of control all that, right?
Yeah, so this is actually very easy, simple. This recipe used the apple cider vinegar, so to add, a little bit more of the probiotic. But, you can substitute with the other kind of vinegar. You can use red wine vinegar, you can use even white vinegar, or, if you don't have any kind of vinegar, any acidic fruit like lime or lemon juice can be very great with this recipe. And when you mix it up, this salad dressing can stay up to 1 week in the refrigerator. It's very easy, quick fix, and Jess, you're right about that a lot of salad dressing out there that you buy, the store-bought salad dressing has a lot of added sugar. Has a lot of preservatives that you don't need. When you make your own, you can make sure that you can control amount of salt, amount of syrup or honey that you add to make sure that your meal, your salad's healthy like you want it to be.
Well, and something that's been making me feel good over the last few years is with all the good stuff that we have on the Thanksgiving and the holiday tables, is just to have a big salad. Some of those leafy greens just make me feel a little better, washing everything down. So this is a great way to just add an extra veggie, get your greens in, make you feel like you're doing something good on those holiday gatherings. Something I do, another little trick I do when I get up in the morning is you're up all day, and you need the energy. 2, I try to kind of fill my belly with a few things that I'm not eating. I eat those Hawaiian rolls all day long. I do. I stuff them in all day long. So I'm thinking, okay, how can I fill my tummy and get me through to the actual meal and sit down and actually eat the meal? And these energy bites, I think, are perfect. And I'm going to make them, and I'm also going to take them to work.
Yes, this is actually one of my favorite snack, and my kids love these energy bites too. They're so easy to make, So if you have the old-fashioned raw oat, or nowadays if you go to the store getting the mixed grains, they have the raw or the other grains, 7 grains. You can use it. And this recipe, I use ground flaxseed and chia seed to add more fiber and omega-3 fat to the energy bite, and also we use the dark chocolate, which is have a high antioxidant, and it's very easy. You don't have to bake it. You just refrigerate it for 30 minutes and scoop them into bite size, and you put it in the Ziploc-tized bag. And store it in the refrigerator up to 2 weeks, or you can freeze it. You can make tons of them and freeze them up to 3 months.
You are speaking my language. Anything you can freeze, I love it. And I like it. You add the chocolate, that always helps everything. But you're also getting a lot of those different type of, like you said, chia seeds. When do I have a chance to eat things like that? I think it's such a great way to get in one little bite-sized little snack, some things that you might not try normally or get into your diet normally. So I think that's such a great idea. I love all those recipes. Again, go to that bit.ly link right there /MMU recipes, and you can find those recipes and all sorts of good stuff that Pattie likes to make. I want to get to Dr. Dana Hawkinson, and then I want to get back and we're going to talk more about the effect of sugar on the body. I want to know the real deal about that. Dr. Hawkinson, how are you? Happy Monday.
Happy cold Monday, yeah.
Yes.
And it's looking better in the hospital, too, as far as COVID patients go. So right now, 16 active infections, so that's a little bit better than it has been. 1 in the ICU, 1 on the ventilator, 18 in that recovery period. Would also like to say we did have a COVID-19 death last week as well, so that is very unfortunate also.
Wow, okay.
Yep.
I do have a question for you. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration voted against approving a new pill to treat high-risk patients in the hospital after what you just told me about that death. Why might that be?
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about the safety precautions that the FDA goes through, looking at all the data, analyzing all the data, making sure it's safe and effective for release and for giving to patients. What the FDA committee felt is there just wasn't enough data to support the use. So it wasn't really approved for that reason, but they did say there are very good observations. They are looking for more research into it. But again, I think this is one more step that we've talked about, that people are doing their due diligence to look at both safety and efficacy of these new drugs that are coming out, and not just for COVID-19, but really for everything. And this is one more point to drive that issue home as well. Basically, there just was not enough data, they felt, to determine the efficacy for that, but certainly continue to research and enroll those patients and get that data and analyze it.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, let's see if we have any reporters on the line today. Okay, let's get to some viewer question. Isaac's got one today. Has any research been done that you know of, Patty, on the feasibility of delivering insulin via infused into foods or some other oral route? We know anything about that?
No, I have
I
not
figured if we
heard
had, it would have happened, but we never. Things are changing so rapidly, you never know. But how is insulin delivered? Let's just explain that. How is insulin typically delivered? That certainly has changed.
Right. So the old-fashioned way to deliver insulin is just via syringe or insulin pen, right? So if the patient actually need insulin, especially those with type 1 diabetes, that their body stop making insulin, they will need the insulin injection to survive, right? But nowadays there a lot high technology in diabetes technology devices. There's insulin pump in the market that can communicate with continuous glucose monitoring sensor to adjust the insulin delivering. Mimic the way that your pancreas will adjust, in terms of how much your blood sugar rise. The pancreas, our organ, typically will produce more insulin or vice versa, right? So nowadays we have a lot of those technologies that help people deliver the insulin.
So, Patty, a common misperception is that if you eat too much sugar, you're going to develop diabetes. True or false?
Well, I wish if that simple,
okay.
Right? That if we stop eating sugar, so then we don't have diabetes, right? But remember that there are many components, especially genetics components. Age, race, can put a person at risk of developing diabetes, right? And also, your body would not only turn sugar, but all carbohydrate food into blood sugar or glucose, right? So the carbohydrate food, such as starchy foods, grains, pasta, noodles, starchy vegetable like potatoes, pumpkins, right? This is the season. Fruits and dairy, all these food your body will break down and turn into blood sugar or glucose. That can raise your blood sugar too, right? The higher amount of carbohydrate food that you consume, the higher blood sugar will be.
So what foods do you eat to counterbalance that?
So, so with that being said, doesn't mean that you should stop eating all the carbohydrate food, right?
Because I liked everything you just said there.
Yes.
I'm not cutting those out. So what can I do to offset that?
So typically, what we recommend our patient in the clinic, or anyone that want to have a healthy diet, is to try to do portion control in terms of carbohydrate food if you're dealing with high blood sugar or living with diabetes, right? So try to portion control the carbohydrate food, limit added sugar, right? Or if your food happen to have sugar, have it very little amount. Try to consume complex carbohydrate that high in fiber, like vegetable, right? Whole grains. And if you cannot make your carb complex or eating complex carb that I mentioned, you can make your meal more complex by adding more lean protein and vegetable to your meal to make it more complex to help with that.
All right, great tips. Susan, question for you. How have you changed?
Yes.
What have been some of the bigger changes you have made in your diet? Maybe something you kicked out and maybe something you've brought in that you really noticed a difference in?
I have really kicked out, to use your phrase, a lot of the grains. My body does not respond well to grains, so I don't eat oatmeal or flour or some of the other things that are so popular as carbohydrates. So what I have done is have Patty explain to you the plate of where most of what you eat are vegetables and a lean protein, and then some fruit. And that seems to have helped greatly. And I've also just received, because of the insulin, I can now get the sensor that I wear on my arm, and I can test my blood sugar all of the time, is that I've discovered foods that are good for me and those that really raise my blood sugar.
So you can tell instantly, and that's the little circle that we see. We see that advertised, because I remember sitting with my grandmother watching her prick her finger just nonstop. I thought, God, that has got to be so frustrating and hard to manage, but people have done that so long. So this way you check it. Do you use your cell phone? Is like an app you could check? Is that how you do that?
So there are few devices in the market. Most of them you can use your mobile app to receive the data. There are real-time continuous glucose monitoring, and also the flash glucose monitoring that you need to scan to get the data. But either devices will give you 24/7 blood sugar. You
instantly,
can see,
right?
Instantly.
So you know what? Susan, you'll eat something, and then you can tell immediately what kind of reaction your body is having to it.
There are all kinds of alarms on the app that let you know. So by using that, I can tell what's really good for me. So I really stick with the lean proteins and a lot of vegetables. And that's one issue that that Miss Patty has worked on during our luncheons, cooking with Cray, is good alternatives and substitutes. So like your cauliflower. So that's been a real boon to me.
Susan, I want to share your motto. You say, stay active to be active. Your diet is a huge part of managing your diabetes, but so is getting out and walking. You took part in something called Walk with a Doc. Tell us a little bit about that and just the role that exercise plays in your management.
That's every fourth Saturday, and it's under the auspices of Matt Chandler. And it's a great program. I think there are about 25 of us that meet every fourth Saturday at a designated place. And there are either medical students or physical therapy students that give a mini talk for about 5 or 10 minutes. And obviously, we're all in a circle, so it's very interactive that we can ask questions, and then they put us through our paces and walk. And so the volunteers are great with the medical students, that they're with one of us if, depending on our speed. So we're always accompanied with someone, and we just learn a lot of information from each other. It's been a great help to me. I also do swimming, and living by myself, I, haul on all of my groceries and do all of my daily work.
Wow, Patty, Susan's like the perfect patient. So Emily has a question. What kind of advice and recommendations do you give to that average patient? She might be above average right there, but just to stay successful, like Susan, to follow that plan, to get over the hump of the holidays. What kind of advice do you give? And I'm sure it's curtailed per patient, but what are some tips you have?
So whatever you do, don't starve yourself. That's the rule number one, right? So, and evaluate where you're at, right? So
right.
there, and set the realistic goal, right? In terms of the food, start with the food that you like, and make a little bit better version of the food that you want to make improvement, right? So, changing the whole diet doesn't really help much, especially not with the sustainability, because if you change the whole diet and you don't like the food, you're not going to keep eating the food, right? So typically the ideal diet, any season throughout the year, so make sure that, most of the foods are whole foods, minimal of the processed food, right? And how you know these whole foods has no food label for the most part, right? Fruit and vegetable have.
Yeah, if you have to read
Yes.
about it, it's not whole. I have a question for you about meal planning.
Mm-hmm.
I fail miserably at this. I have like high hopes that I'm going to meal plan and I'm going to do all this. Is that an important part of it, or is that just for some people and not for everyone? And if it's successful for you, go for it. If not, find some other way.
So have less ambitious meal planning, right?
Perfect. I love that. Less ambitious. I can do that.
So I recommend not to plan for the entire week 3 meals a day, right? So if you find that one of the meals that typically not going so well, right? Typically, if you often order out or eat at the restaurant for lunch, maybe that's the meal planning for lunch will be the one that you should focus first, right? When you get into habit, so then you move on to the next meal or more days a week. Right, so realistic goal that you can make sure that you can do it is it's the most important key.
I'm going to give last question actually to Dr. Hawkinson, and just a heads up, this is from Deb, and we're going to be talking about wastewater next Tuesday, I believe. Monday or Tuesday, I'll have to check, but I think it's Tuesday. She says, I haven't heard much about monitoring the wastewaters, officials monitoring wastewaters for the presence of COVID.
Yeah.
Where are we with that? Do you have any information?
I don't have any new information. We know it's being done, not just here, but really around the nation in other places as well. But no really new information. I know they're doing it. We also know that wastewater monitoring is being done in New York for things like polio as well. So we'll try to run down the latest update on SARS-CoV-2 wastewater.
Yeah, I think our expert's coming on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we will get to, more detail on that for you, Deb. Let's get to our final thoughts from our guests. And I'm going to start with you, Susan, perfect patient Susan. What any other extra advice you have to kind of help us get through the holidays and into a new fresh year?
Well, I think that planning is very important. Grocery lists, keep your focus on you, and make sure when you're preparing food for other people that you also have alternatives for yourself.
Great idea. Okay, Pattie, Miss Pattie, final thoughts from you. What should we know here on it is World Diabetes Day. So glad you're here. What do you got for us?
So remember that eating healthy doesn't mean that you have to always eat less, right? So, or stop eating the food that you like. It's all about balancing it, especially during Thanksgiving. I want you to enjoy Thanksgiving meal, but keep in mind being very mindful about the carbohydrate food, doing portion control, and remember that you always have the option to move more, take a walk, right? Stretching after the meals, that can help too.
Okay, great. Thank you. Always so good to see you. You're going to be coming back from time to time. I'm not letting you go.
Yes.
Come back next week or next month. Okay. We need you. Dr. Hawkins, okay, what's your one sweet you can't do without over the holidays? Like, what do you have, like a favorite pie or?
Sour Patch Kids all the time.
Sour Patch Kids. That's
you
not very
can put them on
festive.
anything, really.
Pumpkin pie, pecan pie.
They're a good addition to any meal.
Okay, they're just sprinkled on top. All right, what are your final thoughts? What do you got for us?
Again, I think this is so important. So many people are affected by this. It is truly an epidemic as well, so very good information there. And, try to just continue to have that healthy lifestyle, get out, exercise when you can, obviously when it's not too cold, but also healthy eating, which we know is difficult. But I think, looking at the Cray Diabetes website will help and doing all that.
All right. And everyone, thank you so much for being with us today. You can catch our updates anytime by logging onto Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Go out, make it a great Monday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow at 8 a.m. Coming up tomorrow on the Morning Medical Update. A young mom suffers a stroke and faces a life-changing decision when diagnosed with a rare blood vessel disorder. I'm Jessica Lovell. It's called Moya-Moya disease. Jessica McClintock had no idea what it was or that she was at risk. We meet her and the neurosurgeon helping her get her life back. Tuesday at 8.
Subscribe to our Morning Medical Update and Open Mics with Dr. Stites podcasts. Now, everywhere podcasts are available.